How are you today?
Hi, good afternoon. Doing great. How are
Yeah,
you?
I think last time we talked, I had the white background because we'd had so much snow, and then you guys in Texas had all that snow, eh, last week?
Yeah, it was crazy. It really was. With the community, they bonded together and they started helping each other. And it was a tough winter,
Hmm.
but now spring is already here. The sun is out, and it's about 70 degrees outside, so probably about 75 degrees Fahrenheit.
Nice. Yeah, we're not quite that high yet. We're still in the, well, at least we might get to the high 30s today. quite quite the difference from you guys. Well, thanks for joining me, and just do a quick introduction for people that are going to be listening or watching this. Brandon is a certified corporate mindfulness trainer, and I think we want to touch on that a little bit to explain what that really means today. He's been certified, has worked overseas in China and studies in many different areas. He's the founder of Modern Mindfulness, which is China's largest mindfulness community with over 8,500 active members. So that's pretty amazing. And you know what you're doing with your program and training people. I understand that's your focus right now, training. Is it organizations or coaches or both, Brandon?
It's both. So we're offering corporate-based mindfulness training to organizations, all ranging from Fortune 500 to small businesses to startups. We also work with coaches and individuals. So
Mm,
we're offering a lot these days.
yeah, that's cool. So I guess the biggest question that a lot of people have, mindfulness has emerged really over the last, what, 10 years as a leading program for coaches, for leaders, etc. But what does it really mean? What is mindfulness?
So there are multiple definitions of mindfulness, and the most simplistic one I can give you is being where you choose to be, predominantly with your awareness. So right now, our attention is rested upon this interview, and it might stray away from something else to something else, and you're aware of that, and you bring it back to where you intended to be. The popular consensus of the definition of mindfulness in the Western world is non judgmental, moment by moment awareness. The way I say it is training your awareness to be where you'd like to be. And this is extremely useful because everything and everyone is trying to steal our attention and our time. And when we're training our minds to be more mindful, we're really able to increase that focus, decrease the stress, and a whole lot of other benefits come from it as well.
Hmm. So uh, when you work, let's say, with a corporate executive, what is the outcome that they want to have usually? How does this help them, or what is the journey that you would take them on?
Mostly they want to have the outcome of less stress and better focus.
Mm-hmm.
And the journey we typically take them on is a 10-week training where we introduce the foundations of mindfulness, how it works. We start to get them to a point where they're comfortable sitting, doing a mindfulness training of 10 to 15 minutes. And we start to build in various strategies with them, such as mindfulness in email, mindfulness in daily life, mindful routines when you're starting to go to sleep or when you're waking up. A lot of people, when they're waking up, they just tend to automatically check their messages. And what we're seeing neurologically is, and this is no new news, it's been around for a long time, there's actually a cortisol release right upon awakening, a stress hormone that has us more aware, alert, and looking for food. So animalistically, that's been there for a while. And one of our modules is to teach them how to wake up mindfully. So in a 10-week program with a corporate executive, we're getting them to a place predominantly where mindfulness isn't something that they have to do or they should do, but they get to a place where this is something that they want to do. They look forward to it like a warm bath for the brain.
Interesting.
And then when we get to that point, really life-changing results start to occur then.
Yeah, so would you say it's like taking control of your brain instead of the world controlling you? Is it taking control of your world and your environment? Is that part of that?
I would say to simplify, it's more of taking control of your awareness.
Okay.
Because the thoughts they're happening, they're almost as spontaneous as our breath or as the sounds that you're hearing. And when we start to train our awareness, then we can really be selective as to where the awareness is going. Whether that be on a useful thought or not useful thought or emotion or a specific situation. It's really a foundation training to having a higher quality of life.
Yeah. I see a lot of executives that they seem to be so busy. Did you come across that? And
Never, no, not one time. No, yeah, of course. Yeah. They're busy. They've got 10,000 things that they need to do, and it's increasing. And they've got pressure. It's always on. They have information overload, distractions everywhere. And the main problem with that is they have really no mechanism that is scientifically based that can allow them to get more done while feeling less busy. And it's a little ironic there, but we really need to learn as these busy executives and as a society, a global society, we really need to learn how to speed up by slowing down. And if you look at mindfulness as, when we're portraying this to executives like an 80-20 analysis. So you're running all around the place, and when you're slowing down, you can really understand, okay, where is my attention really going, and how is that affecting my results?
Yeah, so the effectiveness isn't so much about the running around, it's about having clarity. Is it about prioritizing, or is it taking breaks, or is it all of that?
So to start, it's about gaining clarity first through a consistent mindfulness practice. And typically we start with a sitting mindfulness training of 5 to 10 minutes. And what the neurological research is showing is that about 15 to 30 minutes per day, when we work them up to those times, 15 to 30 minutes per day of 10 weeks. We do this in China, that's 10 in China. We do that for 10 weeks, and this starts to affect the default mode of the brain. So the default mode isn't necessarily busyness, it's more of clarity, relaxation, higher levels of awareness, and this all amounts to making more effective decisions, which has a direct relationship with the type of results that they're having at work and at home. So you could very well classify a result saying, hey, when I'm at home, I'm at home. And when I'm at work, I'm at work. And I never really mix those two worlds because I know through these daily mindfulness trainings that this is what helps my mental wellness. And when I'm mentally well, I perform at higher levels.
So when we're going really fast and we think we're really busy and we're getting a lot done, we may not actually be getting a lot done. And,
It's, yeah.
yeah.
It's, have you ever had a day where you're like, you're doing all this stuff, you're doing stuff happening, and then at the end of the day, you're like, what the hell's happening? So
Yeah.
we're in reaction mode all day long. We're playing defense. And when we're cultivating mindfulness, that allows us to play offense.
Yeah.
We're in charge of this. At responding to what's out there and then just mindlessly going for it. We're being mindful, we're understanding where our time and energy is really going.
Yeah.
And this is a direct result of daily mindfulness training.
And I guess that releases is endorphins in our brain that you go, yeah, you know, I've slowed down, I got clarity, I'm getting things done. Is that how it works?
So I'm not a neurological scientist, so I can't speak exactly on the hormones that are released, but I can tell you that there is ample evidence that serotonin is released. I reason to believe that also dopamine is released. Cortisol levels are lowering, the stress hormone is lowering, and I believe when we're sleeping, we have the hormone, I believe it's serotonin as well. But these hormones are also known as the happiness hormones. And it can be much more effective than, let's say, a 30-minute nap. Yep. Or let's say in the afternoon, you're really just slogging the whole 5. You know, maybe instead of taking 2 espresso shots, you can just do 15 to 20 minutes of mindfulness meditation or some breath work and go for a walk in the sun. You know, and that might actually get you through the day much better than taking in a substance that will probably add to your cortisol and release the stress response.
Yeah, it's interesting. You know, I was just thinking, you know, last week we were talking about time management, but this is a different element of that. And the end result, you know, it's similar in the way that the brain, you know, through all of these hormones that are being released, gets a level of satisfaction that becomes almost like I said it was an addiction. You know, when we finish things, when we get things done that were on our high list of priorities to move us in the direction we want to move in, it becomes addicting. You know, I love it. Is that a good way of describing that? Or I'm sure you've got, you know, what did you know, when you were in China, you know, you spent 10 years, you know, in this field. Is there a big difference in how that works?
So just to address your first question, I would say that mindfulness definitely helps people get into the flow state faster, where there's just enough challenge and there's just enough accomplishment to where everything else just kind of melts away and you get a lot of stuff done very, very fast. And you're aware of things that might pull you away from that flow state of mind. And it feels great. You have a huge dopamine release after a flow session. You just want more of that. And that's actually what society is losing out on with applications like TikTok, and then you have obviously Instagram, that they're mimicking models of TikTok, and then you have various forms of old school, like channel surfing, just releasing these dopamine amounts continuously, and this hurts us and hinders our ability to be able to just sit down for a task and get it done for 3 hours and really have that sense of satisfaction. So mindfulness really allows you to rewire your brain in that way, where you're not just like a rat running on a wheel, like just getting fed whatever rats eat. In China, you asked, is it the same? Do people, like, culturally, is it the same as the way people have this form of busyness here in the Western world? Is that the question?
Yeah, sorry, there was two questions there, and thanks.
Okay.
Yeah, I was really interested, because you've done so many studies in different areas, and that China experience. I often hear of different coaches around the world that we work with, especially in the Asian countries, sometimes saying, well, our culture here is different. Is it, when it comes to the brain, isn't it the same all over the world, or what did you discover on that journey?
Well, as you know, and as your listeners know, that China and predominantly China and most of Asia is homogeneous culture. So, and their, you know, their government doesn't really encourage people to be all too different. So you have a lot of people who are taking on similar attributes simultaneously. And one of them is, 5G is just rolling out in China right now, and they have access to internet speeds faster than anything I've ever seen, and they're walking down the street on their phones. They are on the subway on their phones. It's much worse, I would say, than New York City. I mean, that's subjective, me saying worse, because, hey, when I lived in Shanghai, I'm walking down the street or I'm on the subway, you better believe I'm on my phone because I'm getting stuff done. So, rightfully so. But you have these guys that are very much so addicted to their computers. And this is more so than the West, but this is coming. This is coming in the West, especially when 5G is released. And the cultural aspect to it, a lot of the culture in China has radically transformed. I'm not going to get too much into government policy or some Chinese history, just to be politically correct here. But it's very common to have dinner with Chinese people and everybody's on the phone. That's okay. It's not a big deal. For me, if I'm there, I'll mention something because this is who I am. I'll say something, but typically it's not a big deal. And also, you see this in America all the time as well, and in Canada. So you have mass adoption at a very, very high rate of change. I mean, China, literally, they changed to a paperless society overnight. And everybody just started using WeChat and Alipay to make all of their payments. And it was fascinating. And people don't use cash there at all. And even here in Austin, people have stopped using cash. So being in China, it's like living in the past and the future at the same time. And through this consistent technological use, it unfortunately has an opportunity cost of suffering, a great amount of suffering, because they're just always reacting, looking for the next thing. And that all being said, coaching is hugely in demand in China. Mindfulness is booming in China, and it's just starting. Wow. Like, I sometimes am boggled by the fact that we're one of the largest mindfulness organizations in China right now, and it's because they went through so many changes in the past, and it's just it's a fascinating culture. They're a global superpower.
Thanks, and sorry if we ended up on a little bit of a tangent there, but I guess where I was thinking is, how do we bring that back to the corporate environment? Often when we're talking about mindfulness in corporate, and correct me if I'm wrong, we're talking about working with the executives. But there are a lot of corporations where the employees are forgotten about from that perspective, and maybe that's where I was starting to relate to that, because employees are just really often treated, maybe it's changing, but they're often treated like the rat on the mouse wheel, or right? They're expected to have their KPIs and all of these different things. They're just expected to come and work, and they're not given that opportunity. What would happen if mindfulness was taken to that level, or is that the kind of things that you guys are involved with?
Very much so. When I used to work with Potential Project, it was one of the first things that we were involved with, is teaching the leaders how to cultivate more mindfulness, more compassion, and more selflessness. Because the reality is, the people who are in high management positions are people that are in their 30s and 40s, and as this evolves and leadership styles change, the younger generation they're more sensitive, and their emotional intelligence skills are different that of the older generation. The older generation typically won't express their emotions openly. Our generation will. And this is something that leaders need to be very mindful that it's super, super important for them to have the skill to express empathy, to express compassion to their teams and the teams. And in this way, you have a trickle-down effect to the entire organization. The old school type of leader, it just doesn't cut it anymore. Kind of carrot and stick, and the guy comes in, he solves all the problems, and you're not to speak up. And you have corporations that are more open, like the CEOs are not hidden away at the top of the building. You've got co-working spaces and open offices where it's more of a connected culture, and it's not so much as that hierarchy there. So as people change and these emotional intelligence skills come in demand, mindfulness is a core component to most of these Fortune 500 companies, the good ones. It really is. And I just want to kind of zoom out a little bit, if it's all right, and just look at us as human beings. We didn't really, 60 years ago, if you saw me running down the street, you'd say, what the hell is he running from? Now we call that jogging, and that's a part of physical exercise. If you see me running down the street, depending on what I'm wearing, you'll say, all right, good for that guy. That's because now most of us are knowledge workers. And being knowledge workers, we need to exercise our bodies. And there's ample evidence showing that if you exercise 5 times a week, 6 times a week, it's great. Also, eat organic, healthy foods, these type of things, have a bit more work-life balance. But there was never a consensus on mental wellness until now, until we started to understand more about mindfulness. And basically, as a species, we discovered that if you stop once a day for 5 to 10 minutes and just watch your mind, nothing else, it's actually really, really good for you. We've known this for thousands of years, but we didn't have this ample amount of neurological evidence until about 13, 14 years ago. And we've been around for hundreds of thousands of years.
Yeah.
But let's just say, to be conservative, for your as I always say in China, we've been around for at least 5,000 years, since the beginning of the Chinese Empire. So us human beings, we're pretty ancient creatures. And this mindfulness stuff is a modern tool to help us be better. Right? All that being said, mindfulness isn't enough. We need other skills too, but this is more of one of those keystone skills that definitely will help in a corporate environment and outside, of course.
Well, I think it's really interesting because, as you know, I developed the Acumatch tool for mapping behavior, which is really identifying some of our neural patterns. And I'm thinking, there's so much focus in the corporate world about employee engagement, and I think that's a backhanded way of saying it's important to be mindful of the team and so forth. I'm just thinking that if there is a way of tangibly measuring the shift in the organization and the behavior and the culture when you do some of the things that you're talking about, is it measurable? How do you quantify it? Can you quantify it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely. So there are a couple of ways. One way in terms of focus. So when people ask the benefits of mindfulness, generally we start with more focus, less stress. So let's look at the first one, focus. If you're actually running software on a computer to see how often tasks are switched, pre-mindfulness and after a 10-week mindfulness course, that right there shows you how much a mindfulness training has helped. When we're looking at mindfulness training, just so your viewers understand and your listeners understand, is basic mindfulness training is similar to basic attention training. So we're resting our awareness at the simple fact that we're breathing. And then the attention deviates, and we gently bring it back. And the attention deviates, we gently bring it back. So this is training our attention. So you can see how this skill would work when somebody is working on a project. You sit down, working on a project, let's say you've got Microsoft Excel opened up, working for 1 hour. Pre-mindfulness, you might work for 10 minutes on Microsoft Excel, and then answer a phone call, answer an email. Then you're back. And then you might do that again, and then you're back. After mindfulness training in our courses, then at that time, somebody might just sit and just work on Microsoft Excel for 1 hour. And this is much, much more effective than multitasking. Actually, multitasking is a total myth. The mind is a one-way route.
Yeah.
It's binary. It would seem like we are multitasking, but we're not. And whenever you're doing these high conceptual tasks, every single time you switch, you lose momentum. And you have to regain it. So that's one way of measuring that.
Yeah.
Another way is what we've done when my previous colleagues at the Potential Project, they've done studies on retention rates. And through going through 10-week plus mindfulness trainings, they've noticed that people are getting sick less, they're leaving less, they're quitting less, because well-being is increased, stress is decreasing.
Nice.
Then you have many, many different other ways of looking at this in regards to creativity, the amount of time one creative task might take, and how fast somebody can actually complete these projects. The cool thing about mindfulness training is it's not like I'm doing these studies. Mindfulness isn't like a patent thing. It's been around for a while. There's tons and tons of studies just like this from Harvard, Stanford, Princeton. It's for the world's best organizations and institutions. And it's all out there. And for those who want to understand a bit more, you can just Google the science of mindfulness or mindfulness and results, and you'll see tons of stuff from HBR, from Berkeley, from all kinds of really cool places.
That was a really great explanation, and one of the things that I'm sure you see and I've seen as well is with the COVID situation, it's really heightened people's and companies' focus on the pivot or transformation. And I think, what we're seeing is a great deal of focus on transforming the business without really paying attention to the people transformation that needs to come along with that. So I really like the explanation you gave, and we've seen studies that I totally agree with you can't multitask. The brain is just we used to call it cycling.
One way route.
Yeah. Yeah. So
lane.
And every time you distract it, it takes 10 to 15 minutes to get to that same level of focus again. So what you've described is, the brain does get distracted easily. It's learning how to bring it back, I think, is what I'm hearing is a key factor in that. And you do that through training, yeah?
Yeah. And if it's appropriate, do you mind if we just do a 3-minute mindfulness exercise right now?
Yeah, absolutely.
You kind of understand that?
Mm.
Okay. So for those who are watching live, feel free to join in. There are a couple of steps, and I'll guide you guys through it. First step is just to sit up straight. Just try to sit up a bit more alert. And if you feel comfortable, you can close your eyes. If not, no worries, you can just put them a bit downcast. If you're on your computer, you can just look at the space bar on the computer. It's easier to close the eyes. And just taking one deep breath into your nose, slowly out of the mouth. And I invite you to just bring your awareness to your whole body and allow that body to begin to relax. Relax the eyes, shoulders, chest. Feeling yourself sitting. Feeling the feet touching the floor. Just bring your awareness to your breathing at the stomach. No need to change the breath, just feel the physical sensations rising and falling of the breath at the stomach. You may have noticed the mind starts to think. No need to judge those thoughts. Just come back to your breathing at the stomach. Allow yourself to relax and be alert, following the breath. And just take one deep breath into your nose and slowly out of the mouth. Opening the eyes, just having a gentle stretch. All right, so it was about a 3-minute mindfulness exercise.
Perfect.
How did it go?
Yeah, it's great. I actually use something like that when I can't sleep, when I'm in bed and, I've got too much going on and I need to really wind down and get back to being grounded and have a good night's sleep. That's a really good way of doing that, I find. Yeah.
Yeah, same here. So what we did there was just two basic things. We relaxed our body, which we do it all the time when we're about to go to sleep. Instead of falling asleep, we're falling awake. And the second thing is we brought our awareness or attention to the physical sensations of the breath at the stomach. And what happened was the attention deviated, and we brought it back. And it deviated, and it brought it back. And this simple exercise is really great for increasing your focus.
Cool.
Just to touch on a couple of topics. Well, first, do you have any questions about the exercise?
No, keep going. We have a few more minutes,
Okay.
so we'll just,
So just to touch on the topic is that people now around the world are working from home. And one of the main challenges is when you're working from home, distraction and work-life balance. And what better way to increase work-life balance than training your awareness, training your attention. In this way, we start to develop very clear priorities, a very clear schedule, to where we know 7 a.m. to 9, be present with the family, maybe get some exercise in, 9 to 4:30, totally devote yourself to work, and then 4:30, mindfully transition back to your family. Now, people might be saying, "Oh yeah, it's easy for you." If this is not an overnight fix, this is something that you're going to get the results out of at least 10 weeks of mindfulness training. This is what all the neurological data is pointing towards. So really, if you guys want to give this a shot, make sure you're doing the minimum effective dose. That would be 10 to 30 minutes of mindfulness training per day for at least 10 weeks. You would never go to a physical trainer. The trainer's like, I need you to go to the gym 5 days a week for an hour a day. Then you're going to lose 100 pounds over the next 6 months. And you tell the trainer, well, I went twice a week and I ate ice cream every day. The trainer's going to say, well, that's not necessarily what we laid out for you. Don't worry, keep trying. He's a good trainer. He can compassion, say, keep trying. Let's try to understand what is the reasoning you want to just do 2 days a week, and he'll help you understand how to get to a place where you want to practice every single day as if it was a warm bath for the brain. A lot of the listeners out there might be, I would invite you to reflect on the first time you went to the gym. Probably sucked, didn't it? I know it did for me. It was very intimidated. I don't like this environment. But over time, I learned to love it. That's my special place. And I know a lot of you guys out there, that's your special place too. Well, when I first started meditating, I hated it. But I knew there's something special about this. Because everybody that I looked up to in this world had a meditation practice, or have a meditation practice. Over that time of 10 weeks, it shifted from something that I ought to do, I should do, and now I want to do, I look forward to it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Love the analogy, because that's exactly how the brain works. The first time you do something, the brain's like a muscle that goes, oh, this is really uncomfortable, right?
Yeah. If we have time, I can give you another analogy. How much time do we have?
We're a little over time, but maybe what we need to do is book to bring you back, man. I think it was really awesome.
I'll tell you in 2 minutes, okay?
Yeah.
I ask clients this all the time when they can't get to the meditation practice. I ask them, who taught you how to take a shower? And they say, oh, my mom or my dad or family members. Okay. How long did it take you to learn to shower yourself? And you have to think about this with yourself. Typically, they say about 4 or 5 years. 4-year-old, 5-year-old can shower themselves. Then I ask them this question. How long did it take you to love it? And that really gets them thinking now. Usually, like a teenager, is starts to enjoy this daily hygienic practice. So mindfulness training is much like a warm bath for the brain.
I like the daily hygienic practice. This is really what we're doing for our brain. It's daily hygiene.
Clean the body and then clean the brain. Organize the most sophisticated computer on the planet for now.
Yeah.
Until AI comes along and does whatever it's going to do.
Yeah.
Well, let the computers know we're watching.
Yeah, they're always around us. Brandon, I want to thank you. It was really awesome. One thing before we leave, if someone wants to find out more, do they go to modernmindfulness.com? Is that the place? Or
Yeah, that'd be the best place. Modern Mindfulness with one L.
yep.
This is how you spell mindfulness. Sometimes people make that mistake. Or you can contact me on social, Brandon Mehrgut, BrandonMehrgut, and I'm very well aware that my finger right now is not even making.
We've actually got it on the screen, your email as well, so people can reach out to you.
Brandon at modernmindfulness.com. Please don't be a stranger, guys. We're here to help you support your mindfulness practice and have more peace of mind.
Man, I really appreciate your time today, and
thank you for having me.
I feel so much better.
Awesome.
Yeah. All right, buddy. Well, take care, and we'll look forward to having you back. I think there's just so much more that we can cover and talk about.
Yeah, for sure.
All right.
I'll be in Canada. I'll keep it mindful here in Austin for you guys.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.